Hey, what's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Coach Evans here. You're tuned in to another banner relationship video. Now, before we get started with the video, I want to ask you guys for a favor. If you find my videos on my channel informative, if you find that you're learning things from them, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to be super generous, go ahead and share them with the people around you that you feel that could use that information. So let's get into today's video. Today I want to tell you guys a story about the first time I got publicly rejected by a woman, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it. I think you guys are going to actually pick up things from it and learn from some of the blunders, if you want to name it that way, or from the rejection that happened to me at that time. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and enjoy the video. Before I tell you guys the story about my first public rejection, I want to reveal to you guys about some of the shame that I had growing up, some of the fears that I had as a child growing up. Now, I grew up in Africa, Tanzania specifically, and I remember it was around age 3 or 4 when I was outside playing with other kids, and this kid comes up to me, innocent as most kids are, and he had recognized something. He had recognized that one of my eyes was actually lazy. So when I was looking at someone like I'm looking at you guys right now, one of this eye would actually be looking that way. So this kid, being innocent as he is, he pointed that out to me. And I remember from that time all the way till 18, no matter what was happening in my life, I had to avoid eye contact. So I never really took pictures during that time. So if you try to find my pictures from age 3 or 4, 5, all the way till 18, I didn't take many pictures because every time I looked at the camera, all that happened was people would be able to see my wandering lazy eye. So that was a big source of insecurity growing up. People seeing that I was a little bit different than them in a way that made me feel incomplete as a person. All right. So this affected the way I interacted with kids at school. It affected the way I communicated with girls that I had crushes on especially. Now that you know that, let's get into the story of my first rejection publicly that I experienced. Okay, now during this time, my eyes were already corrected, so this had been long gone. But the effect that it had, the lack of confidence that I grew up with because of it, never really went anywhere. This was also the time I'd just gotten out of a relationship. And I was trying to get to know women, trying to go on dates, but everything was backfiring. So I decided to get to understand women. Okay, I was reading a lot. I was acquiring information from everywhere, and I was not acting on it. So as you can tell, I never got the results I wanted because I never took the actions that these books were telling me to. I remember my first public rejection like it had just happened today. It was a nice spring day. I was going to meet someone that I talked to from Craigslist. He was going to sell me some camera equipment. But I walked into that Starbucks, it was a little bit earlier than him. In the place that I sat, it had a direct view to the patio. So chilling, I look outside, I see this gorgeous, beautiful girl in a sundress. You know, so the weather was warm enough for her to wear that, and she was just easy and effortless. Okay, and I was really, really attracted to that. But I never had the courage to walk up to her and start a conversation. All right, because I feared that thinking about getting rejected in front of everybody that was around the patio was close to, I think it was equivalent to me committing a suicide. Yes. So I finished my Craigslist deal, and while that was happening, I told myself that I'm not going to walk out of there unless I talk to that girl. I told myself, Evans, you're going to stop bitching and you will actually make a move today. So the deal ended, the guy walked away, and I got up, went to my car, pulled down the visor in order to kind of calm myself down, get that courage to walk up to that girl and actually say something to her, and took a couple deep breaths. I remember walking to the patio section. They had a little gate. So I opened the gate and I walked to this girl. I said, hey, how's your day going? And she never even looked at me. She said, no, thank you. Now, to me, that was a rejection enough that was very clear to decide to turn around and walk away and go back to my car. So I turned around, really, really shaking still, I walked back to my car, the visor was still down, and I saw my face. What happened is I just got rejected, but the reaction I had was I started laughing. Now, the main reason that I broke into laughter was not because I wanted rejection. Absolutely not. The reason why I started laughing was because the fear that I had of getting rejected was way worse than the actual rejection that just took place. So for me, that was such a relevance. That was such an opening, an eye-opening moment to realize that what I was fearing, the paralyzing effect it had on me, was not nearly as bad as actually getting rejected. And that is something that I want you guys to understand. The fear of rejection is 1,000 times worse than the actual rejection itself. And so many guys get paralyzed by the thought of just walking up to a girl and try to say hi or to talk to them or to reveal what they actually feel. As much as I would love to say that that day ended there with that new realization that I had about the fear and how actually not as bad getting rejected was, I was meeting up a friend that afternoon, so we decided to go to the beach. And while we were there were these two girls just sitting sunbathing, and one of them had beautiful dark hair. And you know the times when you meet a girl and you can tell there's a difference between a girl who's hot. Now, a girl who's hot, you want to introduce her to your friends to kind of have those bragging rights. At that point, that was how I thought. But for her, she was just beautiful and gorgeous, to be honest with you. And it was the kind of girl that you would want to take to your mom and say, hey mom, I want to introduce you to this amazing, beautiful, gorgeous girl that I just met. So she was worthy as far as looks and demeanor and beauty in that sense. And because I still had that energy, I decided to put myself in a place where I have to get rejected as many times as possible. All right. And that's what I was actually going for. That was my main aim, to get rejected as many times as possible. Now, you might think I'm crazy, but the main reason why I told myself that, the main reason why I decided to do that, was because I wanted to take away all the fear that I had as far as being afraid to go and start a conversation with somebody that I found beautiful. I wanted to be able to just to walk up to any stranger and say, hey, how's your day going? And start a conversation and maybe hopefully ask them out. So I walk up to this girl, I squat down to her level while they were sunbathing there, and I said, hey, I saw you from across the beach and I couldn't help myself. I had to come over and say hi. And my mouth said these things that sounded so confident, but my body was communicating something completely different. And the girl was very gracious. She was like, thank you very much. I appreciate the compliment. And as we were talking, I ended up asking her out. I was like, hey, so what you say we grab a drink sometime? And the answer she gave me was, I just got out of a relationship and I'm taking this time to heal. And I was like, oh, that's actually nice. You know, I can understand that. I can be okay with that. And while we were still there talking, she added me on social media and all that. There's a guy that came passing behind us, and she recognized the guy because she used to work at a restaurant as a waitress, and this guy had come in there one day with a girl on a date. But midway through the date, he went to the bar and started talking to these waitresses and just chatting them up. The girl got pissed, she left, and he ended up picking up one of those waitresses, and who knows what happened. Now, she recognized him, he invited him into a circle, into a conversation, and as we were chatting, I could tell the energy got sexual between the two of them, you know, and I was like, all right, this is interesting. She had just told me a couple minutes earlier, that she's trying to take this time to heal, and she was being really sexually, and she was being flirtatious with this guy. So I was like, let me just observe this. She ended up living with him, and I think they dated for quite some time even after that. Seeing a girl that has just rejected me, being flirtatious and being sexually open to somebody else who just came in, it was very easy for me to be able to get mad because of that. But instead of asking myself a question from a victim standpoint and saying that, hey, why me? Why did she have to reject me like that? And why did she have to say yes to somebody else and feel unworthy? Because that's what that question would have led me to. I ended up asking myself a question which was more of an empowering question as to, what can I learn from what she has just said? What can I learn from what had just unfolded in front of me? Know what she's told me? Because what she told me was a fluff, was more of your energy, your presence is not confident enough, it's not convincing enough for me to want to go out for a drink with you. But I have more of a connection with somebody else that I'm willing to end up open to be flirtatious and go out with them. And from that, I also learned that women have different versions of saying no to you. She doesn't have to come directly to you and say, no, I don't find you attractive, or say, no, thank you for your offer, and I'm gonna walk the other way and find somebody else to go out with right after I reject you. But she gave me a different shade of rejection, of saying, no, I have something else happening in my life. And she used it. Maybe yes, that was happening, but that was not the main reason as to why she had said no to me. So sometimes women will try to give you a reason just not to hurt your feelings so that they can avoid to get in that conflict area from somebody they just met. So 3 things that I learned that day from getting rejected twice by these women whom I thought were 10 out of 10 that were really beautiful and gorgeous were, number 1, the fear of rejection is worse than rejection itself. It's paralyzing to a point where you don't want to do anything. But once you understand that that fear is normal, once you take action regardless, you will feel empowered. You will come out of that knowing that you are authentic with yourself, and the only way for you to get what you want, if it's a woman that you're interested in, if it's a job, if it's anything in life, is putting yourself at risk, at failure. And sometimes you will fail, but sometimes you will succeed. But in order for you to succeed, you have to put yourself in that place that is very risky and very vulnerable. The second thing that I learned was that women have different ways of saying no to you. So they might give you a reason just to not hurt your feelings. But what they're trying to say is that your energy, your presence is something that's not enticing for me sexually. So I'm going to reject you right now. So whatever the reason a woman gives you, just understand that there could be something else that you have more control over and you can tweak things. Okay? And it doesn't really determine your worth. It just says where they are at that particular moment. The third thing that I learned was that we are responsible for the way we respond to things that happen to us. It was very easy for me to pick up a very disempowering thing, a very victim mindset that, oh, why did she have to do this? But by me choosing to ask myself, what can I learn from this rejection that just happened to me? I ended up taking that information and finding answers and tweaking with it and learning and growing with it. It's not what happens to us that shapes us, it's how we respond to it. And we have the power to question things that happen to us in a way that will move us forward, or take a victimhood mindset and ask, why did this have to happen to me? Which leads you to inaction and blaming other people for you not having what you want. However, what I chose to do that day, and I did this unconsciously to be honest with you, was that I asked myself, what can I learn from the things that just happened? And that allowed me to, again, not hold any grudges between me and that person, because she was a stranger. I did not know where she was coming from or what was happening in her life, but she taught me a lot that day about rejection. So with all that being said, I hope you guys got something valuable from this. And in the comment section below, let me know what you think. Let me know the fears that you guys have when it comes to relationships, when it comes to rejection, or if there's any area in your life that you normally feel fear, or that sense of not wanting to take action because of failure that you're afraid of. So if you find that you learned something from these videos, please go ahead and subscribe, like the video, share it with the people that you find that will actually find this information helpful. And until next time, I will talk to you guys in another video.